All right. All right.
Hey,
Hi, LA Pink. How are you?
I am beyond excellent. How are you?
Good. So today we're back in Fulton County. We have to talk about more Fulton County corruption and fraud. And you sent me two clips. Um,
Yes,
and I think it's very important for us to talk about because it's dealing with homeless and voting, right?
yes, yes.
So quickly just speak to it a little bit before I play the clip.
Well, I came across of it up on it on social media, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like first of all, it's the church that I serve the homeless at. Outside of the church, now I'm not partnered with the church, or I know a member in the church, but it's somewhere where I feed the homeless. It's right across the street from the Capitol on one side of the church, on one of the churches that he's talking about. On the other side is right across the street from the Fulton County courthouse, where the sheriff and the DAs and all these people are. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wait a minute, this is crazy because he's saying 2,000 at the church right across the street from the courthouse, 1,000 from the church across the street from the Capitol, and all of it is registered up under demon racks. Okay. And so I was just like, this is crazy. I mean, and ludicrous, but it was something that we've already been talking about of the fraud that's been going on here in Georgia. This is the reason why Trump right now, is got a lawsuit right now and pending wanting $6 million from Funny Willis because of him winning the voter fraud. Winning the voter fraud, his voter fraud case.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is something that really, really, really is very important to the people to know, to look out for. And then as I watched one video about the church, another video drops. He drops another video talking about him going to the houses. And I was like, this is what they are doing to our communities. This is what they're doing to our homeless. This is what they're doing to our community. This is what they're doing to those I can't wait to see what they're doing to our inmates, because our inmates, from my understanding, they're making them vote too.
And legally they cannot vote, and that's by the 13th Amendment. So I want to play this clip here.
According to Georgia voter registration rolls, in the previous election cycle, 12 people were registered to vote from 850 Oak Street Northwest. Ask yourself, does this place look like anybody who lives here? Nonetheless, 12 people who are eligible to vote. If we didn't know that this was an abandoned place, we would never be able to tell that this is actually 850 Oak Street Northwest, because as you guys can see, there's no even mailbox here, nonetheless, with a number on it. The only way that I knew that this was 850 Oak Street is by seeing it on Google Maps. And again, 12 people here in the state of Georgia, a battleground state, were registered to vote from a place like this. We just saw the incredible work in Minnesota by Nick Shirley exposing welfare fraud, but it's important to note that welfare fraud does not happen without election fraud. According to multiple affidavits from the previous election, there's over 1,000 homes like this just in Fulton County, home to Atlanta, Georgia. Now imagine if this is just one of 1,000 places where quote unquote 12 people were registered to vote, how many more places are there? We're going to take you across all of Fulton County today, and you're going to see it with us. Why would 1,000 people be registered to vote from one single location, 201 Washington Street Southwest? And when you come here, you realize that this is actually a church. What was happening when we were looking through the voter registration list from the previous election cycle is I noticed well over 1,000 people registered from one single location. Come to find out, it's a church. When we looked into it further, we realized what was actually happening here. It's actually a very well-organized plan by Democrat donors like George Soros. George Soros poured in millions into an organization here in Atlanta that did what? They went around this entire place and signed up all the homeless people. It's during the day right now, so you don't see all the homeless people, but usually this place is filled with homeless people. So an organization that supports Democrats received money from people like George Soros to go and register homeless people to be able to vote from one single place. And to make things even crazier, if we turn around, this place is directly across the Georgia Capitol. All it took for me is to find the voter list and to see why is there more than 1,000 people able to register from one place to realize that something is wrong here. The building right next to 201 Washington Street is actually a Catholic church. Well, guess what? This place, 48 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive Southwest, has registered over 2,000 people to vote from one single location. And guess who it was? It was a progressive organization signing up homeless people that are literally right across the street. It's freezing here in Atlanta. It's actually 35 degrees at 1 p.m. But usually all of this area is filled up with the homeless people. And again, we're outside one of these mega churches that ended up registering more than 1,000 people to vote from just one single place.
So basically, in that first clip, they are allowing people to use an abandoned house in Atlanta specifically to register the vote. Abandoned house. They don't even live there. And if they do, they're probably homeless and they, what do you call those dwellers or something?
Squatters.
Squatters. And you can't do that. And then the second part,
and most of them don't even have squatters in there. And this makes sense too. And I'm gonna have to check some of this out because and I'm not gonna necessarily go and do what he's doing because I don't want to do that. But I will get addresses and send them to him because he is already onto this. And the reason why I said I'm gonna do that is because I always see there's a particular houses on a strip that has nice big houses, but they always have certain people's like the mayor put his there, some of the city officials, they put theirs there. Now the house is empty. We all know the house is empty. See, the one thing that I'm in the community. I'm 10 toes to the street. When I get into you, like if I campaign with you, I'm door to door every day, all day. You know what I'm saying? Door to door. And so I get to see so much in the community, like, dang, okay, well, and now that he's doing this, it all comes back to me of seeing certain people's that's on the Democratic Party campaign sign in certain yards all the time. Now, keep in mind, it's against the law for you to put your campaign sign in somebody's yard if they haven't told you to. But if the house is if it's empty, and we all know that it's empty, but we don't know if the property people gave them permission to put it there or not. We're just seeing it there, so we just okay.
Right.
But now that I'm thinking about it, no. And some of the signs, these people are not even telling them to put in the yard. How do I know? Because I go knock on their door. The person sign that's in your yard, especially if I'm going against them, I'm going to go knock on the people's door. See, some people just be like, nah, if I see a sign in the yard, I'm not going to touch that home. I want to touch it because I want to convince whoever's in that house that who they're about to vote for, they shouldn't be voting for them. Okay.
Yeah. You to vote for?
Honey, and I get videotaped, so you won't be it's a takedown for real. When I say take it down, that means take that out your yard, take it down. I don't take it down, you take it down. And this is the reason why.
Well, here's the thing, because in the second clip, it was also revealed that these organizations, these private nonprofit organizations funded by George Soros, are registering homeless people to vote. And one particular church is claiming to have 1,000 residencies, like 1,000 people are using that church address to vote. And then they're all just so happen to be homeless. And you can't do that.
And the second one is using 2,000. The other one got 2,000.
And they're not housing these people there.
No, they're not housing them. All they're doing, these families, these people come and they eat. So that's the whole reason of the eating and the, write down your name. See, this is the reason why I be saying there's a difference between our organization and other people's organization. People, and the reason why you keep on saying, like, why ain't nobody saying nothing, Pink? Why is it just you? Well, it's just me because I don't get government assistance. Like, I don't get paid to hush. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not being paid to shut up. So I've lost some donors. Trust me, some that's supposed to be Democrats. I don't care. Hey, that doesn't bother me. Like it doesn't hurt my feelings at all because I'm pretty sure they hate how hard I'm going. And that's fine. That's not even a problem for me. Hold on, the train, y'all. I'm sorry.
That's good. At first, I thought it was music.
No, we have a train that comes through here. That's how you know that we're living. If the train doesn't come through, then there's a problem. Hold on, where is it at? You ain't heard it all day. Something's happening. However the case may be, they don't want to be so a lot of people don't want to lose their donors. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want to speak up, because that takes away their funding, and that's fine. I mean, people.
And
Hey, it got.
interesting. It was interesting that he said, just like Nick Shirley, when he uncovered the massive welfare fraud in Minnesota with childcare and everything else. And he said, if you have welfare fraud or any fraud when it comes to social services, you are going to have election fraud. And I didn't think of that, how that goes hand in hand. So, listen, Minnesota, now eyes are on Ohio, and it's eyes in on Georgia, but I think we need to start doing some investigation in Georgia, particularly probably Fulton County and other counties.
Absolutely.
Are these any of the funds as well? Because if we see high election fraud, we may see fraud when it comes to stealing social services funding, whether it's state and federal funding. So yeah, I mean, you cannot be the only one talking about this. Hopefully other people will start questioning and be up in arms about it as well in the state of Georgia and that county. But do people care? And you also mentioned that you believe that they are even registering inmates to vote, because inmates legally are not allowed to vote via the 13th Amendment. So you think that's going to be something that comes out eventually?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me tell you something. This is the most corrupt state. I mean, I can't say that there is, because I never was fighting corruption like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, helping somebody and feeding somebody is different than coming up against the system that, it's so broken. And so this system down here, this system down here, just like right now, they're doing this elderly, Marvin Arrington and Mo Ivory and all of them. They're all doing a lot of elder, dealing with the elders and having events for them, and for me, and especially now, since they're now running for the chairman seat, they're now running for Rob Pitt's seat at the Board of Commissioners. But for me, it's like they rallied and tallied up, and this is allegedly, for me, this isn't in my opinion. They are having all of these different events to tally and rally up paperwork for these elders, because they're not coming in for free. They have to go online somewhere and sign in. They have to do all these different things. So if we have it that they have 2,000 homeless people at one church and 1,000 people at another church, and this is just them feeding them, what do you think that they're pulling when they go and do these events for our elders? It's just something to look at. I don't know how it's happening. I don't know how they're doing it, but it's being done. You know what I'm saying? I feel like these events that they are putting on are events for something that has to do with the voter, because there's no way that these places are gathering all these names and people do not live at these homes. People are coming to eat at the church. A lot of them don't even vote. So some of them are Muslims and some of them are different walks of life. So they don't vote. And some of them, haven't been registered to vote because they are homeless. You know what I'm saying? So how do you get 2,000 homeless at that church?
And so here's the thing, I want to end with this, but here's the thing that I also think one of the reasons why they're doing this voter fraud, and voter fraud to me is voter suppression, right?
Yes, it is.
So that 1,000 in this church, 2,000 in that church, it adds up, and it affects the local level elections the most.
Absolutely.
So it may not put a dent too much whether someone's governor or not, or senator or not, to a certain degree, but city council, mayor, these local,
your DA, your sheriff. And this is the reason why they have and then I call it the coat of corruption crew, because it's the circle, and this circle is stemmed out and brimmed around Shirley Franklin's. They say she has some type of organization, and this is allegedly, so I'm not going put nothing on nobody's name. I'm just saying allegedly of but I am putting it out there that she has some pull and intake into what is going on with the voter, because there's no way that Funny Willis even knew that she was going to win by a landslide before she even won, and she never went to one. It's did one form. She
Right.
never sat down. She left him hanging. You know what I'm saying? Even with Courtney, you never one time got in front of her. That's voter suppression. Because
Right.
if you're not giving the community a
They weren't
opportunity,
campaigning. She wasn't
yeah,
campaigning.
no,
They didn't have
they
to.
wasn't campaigning at all. And I don't
Good for
understand
them.
how you're going to be able to run and be elected and say, "Oh, I won by 60." I'm gonna tell you right now. Somebody that won by that many percents, you ain't worried about the percents. You just worried about the win. You throwing the percentage so that it can look like you took it so
Right.
far. But look at what we just witnessed, even with Venezuela, with them capturing their president.
Mhm.
That president stole the election from the president that really won.
Right.
The president that really won, he had so much pull and had so much embedded into the country that he said, I'm not done being president. I'm still going to be president. You know what I'm saying? And then you have these dummies down here that says, "Oh, send him back, let their government deal with him." Well, they couldn't deal with him to stop the election from him being president when he had lost. So how do you think they're going to stop him if they send him back to fight? Fight against his case. They're going to let him go, and he's going to be back. I have Venezuelans that I live right next door to us and down the street that we have helped. 15 in that was living families inside of a home, and when I say they were happy, they were beyond ecstatic. They were on. I mean, these people were crying. These people were very, very happy. And for America to just slap them in their face to say, hey, send the president back over there and let them deal with it.
Well,
That's
those are the Democrats that are saying that. The Democrats.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and I'm not going to say America, because Democrats, for some reason, they hate America. Like literally,
Yes.
they hate us. Like they hate. That's why I tell people
they
all
hate
the
America.
time.
Yeah.
That's why I don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance with them. I don't stand with it. I know a lot of people probably look at me as being disrespectful, but I'm not being disrespectful. I think I'm more respectful not to stand with the demon rats on something they don't believe in, to stand with them on something that I know that, I just can't. So people got to think about that. When you're in the room and they tell you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, make sure you tell the demon rats to sit down, because they don't believe in what we stand for. They're not standing with us. They're not fighting with us. They're fighting against everything that is needing to be done to take us to be better people in a better nation, and I hate it.
Thank you, LA Pink. I always love bringing you
Thank you.
on. Keep me up to date, honey, with any fraud, because the next thing I want us to talk about is inmates. They're, them using the inmates as
absolutely.
So keep me up to date with every and anything that's going on in Fulton County, and we'll talk.
I will. All right. Kingdom blessings.
All right. So LA Pink brought this to my attention, and me and her has discussed this, but I wanted to briefly, get your thoughts on this as well.
If that turns out to be, in fact, a reality, it's what Mr. Trump was talking about. Voter fraud.
Right. So let me just.
But he got prosecuted for mentioning that. Never in American history has anybody been prosecuted before for alleging voter fraud and then labeled in the major journals and newspapers of the country a liar about so. And now we're finding out this is true. But see, they propagandize people, and that's part of what's corrupt about this country. We have our laws and our rules, and they are to assist the people in maintaining the type of republic that we have. But when the people let themselves down, then it all goes to hell, because rules and programs don't do a damn thing if you don't have the personnel to operate within them. That is a clear disregard for the spirit of the law and of the way the country operates. That's corruption. And by the way, the more you look at this, the more you'd say there is good cause for the feds to indict George Soros for conspiracy.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I used to do a radio thing, and
Let me read this real quick because
he bought 400 some stations, and he cut everybody
Blog Talk is one
conservative
of
off.
them. And Blog Talk was one of them. I wanna read this article real quick. It's USA Today. And it's titled Homeless Voters in Georgia Won't Be Able to Register Where They Stay as of Next Year. And this was in 2024. But let me just go down here. Many homeless shelters and advocacy organizations in the area allow guests to rely on them for another crucial service, registering to vote. Providing an address can be yet another hurdle. In the past, the state has maintained loose guidelines of how Georgia's homeless residents have been able to demarcate their place of residence, allowing them to mark down the name of a bridge or field in which they sleep.
Oh, God.
But starting at the beginning of 2025, these unofficial addresses will no longer be accepted for voter registration purposes because of a newly passed election law known as SB 189. Those state legislators say the law would help address the problems faced by unhoused residents. Advocates for homeless say it is likely to make things even worse. But
You know what? Let me stop you a second. Where this is, there is a 160-year-old precedent for what's going on here as to why they need to stop it. The great compromise before the Civil War was these states are slave states, these states are free states. We're not going to allow the spread of slavery into these free states. Kansas and Missouri. There was a back and forth with brigands, crooks, ne'er-do-wells between Missouri and Kansas, where upon pay that they received from the various political entities would travel back and forth and try to claim that they were residents in another state so they could either vote for or against slavery, even though they had no intention of living in that particular state, nor had they lived in that state. So you can have homeless people migrating through and decided, I've been here 3 days, I can sign up. The point of having a fixed address or residency establishes your right to be considered as a voter in a given state and to be able to list a specific residence that could be subject to verification by lease, custom, or property rights or leasehold rights, or by the permissions of a limited number, a checkable number of people who say, this guy lives with me, he's a permanent resident, he lives with me, he's 23 years old, he's my son. Okay. You see, we can't verify this, and one of the things that was of great concern to a previous generation of Americans was, do you actually live here? See, and you can't verify that. 1,000 people don't camp out in the pews of a particular church, nor do several more thousand in a Catholic church. You can't go out and just register homeless on the streets and you don't know where to verify what they're doing or contact them or anything else. See, there are costs for being down and out.
so it says here, SB 189, they say it creates new hurdles. In Fulton County alone, in the Atlanta area, over 7,000 individuals were registered to vote at homeless shelters, according to data from Fair Fight, a nonprofit voting rights group founded by former Democrat candidate for governor Stacey Abrams. SB 189.
She's another fat jackass. Now, let's get back to the whole thing. Remember, Trump got supposedly indicted for saying, find me 1,100 votes? Well, this is many times that many that should not have been allowed to vote in the first damn place.
Right. And so this law is actually saying if you don't have a physical address where you live, it cannot be a bridge. It cannot be a church if you're homeless. It has to be a residential place to live. Then you cannot register to vote, basically. And what George Soros was trying to do is say, oh, all these homeless people live in this church. And that's not true, because you wanted those homeless people to register Democrat and vote Democrat on that local state level.
And you want them to respond to another kind of appeal rather than what was so hot down there in Atlanta. What was it? Take your booties to the poll.
Right.
See, that's the bad part. The whole concept of our system is based on the people that get to participate in it have a sufficient stake in it to have interest in it and finding out what's going on. Now we have spread the franchise so anybody can vote as long as you're not a felon and you are a citizen, though we don't know that even that last thing is in there since California, New York, New Jersey, Minnesota, they want it so that illegals can vote in at least state elections or local elections. So what the hell are you doing? You're allowing people just to swarm in and say, oh, we want to potentially in some more stressful period, maybe we want to mess the place up. So let's just send in some aliens and run them through and we can register them to vote under a bridge.
Right. Right. And say the bridge is my address. And that's
well, we've got 9,863 folk we registered and their address is the 52nd Street Bridge.
Right. And I'm not laughing at a homeless person who actually sleeps there. I'm laughing at the fact that the way our democracy of voting is operating. So they're being taken advantage of. They're being taken advantage of. And if you could put that much effort into giving these people an address with the church, so why are you not demanding that the church give them resources to get off the street?
Who is the senator for, not senator, representative, the preacher that's got King's old church?
Oh, Jamal. No. The Senator Warnock.
That idiot. Have you looked at what's across the street from his church? One of the most rundown, beat up, battered, third world hellholes of a campsite for the homeless. And this charlatan Warnock actually has a position where he could do something about it, and he doesn't do a damn thing except occasionally turn his head down so he can look at the sidewalk when he walks out in front of his church, and he doesn't have to deal with those people right across the street. If he wanted to do something, then he would set something up so they didn't have to be in that situation.
Right.
Jobs, education, training, circumstance, maybe supporting tariffs so the jobs didn't go evaporate overseas and came back here. Maybe promoting a situation where his ilk aren't allegedly stealing so much money as they do, allegedly. And it was more put back into people, or maybe not giving something like one of their colleagues, Walson boy here up in Minnesota, where you spend billions of dollars on crooked Somalis who are not playing the game, who are ripping it off, and then these fools get some chump change allegedly under the table. It's really crooked.
Very.
They used to have a thing being run out of town on a rail.
Right. All right, that's it. Thank you, Judge.
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.